Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Favor, and in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this unisex shirt. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. So the materials we'll be needing for today's tutorial includes a measuring tape. I'll be using a size 3mm hook. Okay, I'll also be using a yarn needle, some stitch markers, and we'll be using a scissors as well. Okay, so for the yarn we'll be using, this is the yarn I'll be using for this tutorial. This is a fingering lightweight yarn. Okay, and I'll be using one strand of it for this tutorial. So you can use any hook size and yarn of your choice. Whatever you prefer is totally fine. So we'll also be needing some buttons. Okay, I have about 6 buttons here, and then you'll be needing a normal needle, okay, for sewing the buttons into the shirt. So let's get right into this tutorial. So for the measurements we'll be needing, we are going to start with the back panel of the top of the shirt first. So we'll make the back panel before we make the front panels. So for the measurements we'll be needing for the back panels, you are going to measure around your bust. So you take your tape measure and measure around your bust. So around my bust is 35 inches. Okay, so once you have the measurement for your bust, which is 35, we are going to add 4 inches to it, so plus 4. So this 4 inches is going to be the allowance, which is going to make this shirt not to be fitted on your body. If you want a more fitted shirt, you can go ahead and use just the first measurement. Okay, if it is for a guy, you just measure around the chest, or if it's the shoulder that is the widest part, you measure around the shoulder and use it for your measurements. Okay, so once you have your first measurement, which is your bust measurements, then plus the 4, which is the extra room we are given, we are going to have 35 plus 4, it is going to be 39. So I'm going to divide this 39 now by 2. So 39 by 2, I would have 19.5 inches, or 19.5. Okay, so this is the measurement we'll be using for our back panel. So you go ahead and do your own addition and division, and then know the measurements you'll be needing for your back panel. So the wideness of our back panel, so now this is example of what our back panel is going to look like. Okay, so this is where we are working with. So this should be the 19.5, and then we are going to work our way all the way up. Okay, and this length is going to be a total of 25. Okay, so this is where we are starting from. So we'll work like this, front back all the way until the height that we'll need for it. Okay, so this is the measurement I'm going to make. So this is going to be the first chain I'm going to make. This is the length of my first chain. So go ahead and do yours and know the amount of chain you need to make. Okay, so once you have the measurements that you'll be needing for your back panel, okay, so for me it's going to be 19.5 inches in the wideness of the back panel measurements. Okay, so I'm just going to take my yarn now, and then we're going to make a slip knot. So you place your yarn on your hook like so, twist it around, place your hand here to secure it, yarn over and pull through, and then you pull on this tail to secure it. So this is your slip knot. All right, so once you have your slip knot, now we are going to start making our chains, and our chain should be long enough to 19.5 for me. So depending on your measurement, your chain should be that measurement, and you should not stretch the chain when you measure. Okay, that is very, very important. You don't need to stretch your chain. So to start making our chains, and another thing, our chains is going to be in the multiple of 4 because of our stitch pattern. Okay, so you chain 1 2 3 4. Okay, another 1 2 3 4, like so, 1 2 3 4, and you just keep making it 4 chains. Okay, so it's going to be in a multiple of 4. Keep increasing, adding 4 until when you measure it, it should be the wideness for the back panel for me, which is about 19.5. Okay, so just go ahead and keep doing this until you have your chain the length that you need for your back panel. Okay, so at this point I've made my chain a multiple of 4, and the length is about 19.5. So you want to place your tape flat like so, and then you're going to place your chain also starting from the tip of that tape measurement. Okay, starting from where your chain, you place it on your tape, and then you measure without stretching. You can see how I'm doing it. I am not stretching out the chain. Okay, so that is how you should get your correct measurement. So you don't need to stretch out the chain. So you just do this. So you can see mine is about 19.5. Okay, yours might be a little bit more than 19.5. It's totally fine because we are working in a multiple of 4, so it is bound to happen. Yours might be a little bit up to 20. That's totally fine, or it might just be slightly below 19.5. It is all okay. So this is how you should measure. You don't stretch out the chain, you don't stretch out anything. So you just lay it flat, and then you take your measurement like so. So once you have your measurement now the way you want it, we are going to start working on our first row. Okay, so after you've made your chain a multiple of 4, the length we need for the back panel, the next thing you want to do now is to add an extra chain 2. Okay, so you chain 1 2, and that is it. So into this second chain now from our hook, we are going to be placing a single crochet there. So insert your hook into that second chain, and then make a single crochet like so. And by the side of this single crochet, you insert your hook there and make another single crochet. okay, and then by the side of the second single crochet you just made, you insert your hook there and make another single crochet. So this is 3 single crochets stacked on each other, giving us the height we need for a double crochet. Okay, so this is the stitch we are going to be doing at the beginning of every double crochet round. Okay, so after this now you chain 1, yarn over, okay, you skip the next stitch. Okay, so this is where we placed our stitch, so you skip the next stitch, and into the third stitch there you're going to place 3 in 1 double crochet there. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. Into that same stitch you do the same thing again, make a double crochet there, and then into that same stitch space you make another double crochet there. So now you should have a total of 3 double crochet in the same stitch. All right, so now you chain 1, yarn over, and then we are going to skip 3 chains, and into the 4th chain we are going to be making 3 in 1 double crochet again. So 1 2 3, this is the 4th chain. I'm going to be placing 3 in 1 double crochet there. Into that same stitch you make another double crochet, into that same stitch you make another double crochet. So this is 3 in 1 double crochet, you chain 1. So after each 3 in 1 double crochet you chain 1, and then you skip 3 stitches, and then into the 4th chain you place another 3 in 1 double crochet. So this is just the pattern to repeat all the way until the end of the row where you have 2 chain stitches left. Okay, so after this now you chain 1, you skip 3, and then into the 4th chain you make a repetition of this 3 in 1 double crochet cluster. So you just go ahead and keep doing this all the way onto your chain, and then until you get towards the end where you have about 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches remaining. Okay, and then I'll meet you there. Okay, so at this point now I have about 2 chain stitches left. Okay, so you should make sure that at the end of your row, after the last 3 in 1 double crochet, you should have 2 chain stitches left. Okay, if you have more than 2 or less than 2, that means you made a mistake in when you were making your chains, which means it is not a multiple of 4, or maybe when you were working this first row you skipped more than you should for some of the stitches. So you should go ahead and make sure that you're placing it correctly, and you should have a total of just 2 stitches left at the end of the row. Okay, so this is what my work looks so far for this row. So after this now, once you have 2 at the end of your row, remember you're chaining 1 in between each of the 3 double crochet in 1. So you chain 1, yarn over, into the very last stitch. So you skip 1 stitch, and into the very last stitch you just place only 1 double crochet stitch there. Okay, just like as I am doing. So that is it. So it is going to be the same. So here we have 1 double crochet, then skip 1 before the chain, the 3 in 1, just like we have at the beginning of our row, the 1 double crochet, skip 1, and then the 3 in 1. Okay, so this is what you should have for row 1. So now for row 2 you just want to chain 1, turn your work, okay, into this very first double crochet stitch we are going to place 2 single crochets stacked on each other. Okay, so into the top of that double crochet, the yarn over, pull up a loop and make 1 single crochet. By the bar of that single crochet, insert your hook there, yarn over, pull up a loop and make another single crochet. So now we have 2 single crochets stacked on each other. So this gives us the height for a half double crochet. Okay, so after this now you can decide to place a stitch marker here so that you will know where your first stitch is when you get back to this point. Okay, so you just chain 5. After that 2 single crochets stacked on each other, you're going to chain 5. Okay, after you chain 5 you're going to place a half double crochet into this stitch, not the very first chain 1 space, the second chain 1 space here after the 3 in 1. Okay, so yarn over, place your hook through that chain 1 space, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, and then you pull through all the loops on your hook. Okay, so this is what you should have. Okay, so you chain 5 again, 1 2 3 4 5, yarn over into the next chain space, you insert your hook there and make a half double crochet stitch there. Okay, you repeat the process again, 1 2 3 4 5 chains, yarn over into the next chain space, you make a half double crochet stitch there. Okay, so this is what you should have, and this is the process we are going to repeat all the way across until we get to this last 3 in 1 chain space. Okay, and I will meet you when you get to this point. So go ahead and then just chain 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and then try to make your chain stitches as loose as possible. Okay, and then yarn over into the chain space there, you make a half double crochet. So just go ahead and keep repeating this until you get to the end of the row, and then I'll show you what to do. So I've worked the stitch repetition for row 2 and I'm towards the end. Okay, like I said, when you work your very last half double crochet into the chain space in between the 2 cluster 3 in 1 double crochet, what you have to do now is to chain 5 again, and then yarn over and then place your last half double crochet into the top of the previous double crochet from row 1. Okay, so find the top of that double crochet. Okay, not the chain 1 space, the top of that double crochet, that is where you place your last half double crochet stitch. So after this now you chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to start making for row 3. Okay, so for row 3 is almost the same thing as row 1, just slightly different. Okay, so after this now, after the chain one, you turn your work into the very first half double crochet stitch. There you're going to place a 3 single crochet stacked on each other to give us the height of a double crochet that we need. So your first single crochet, by the side of that single crochet you make another single crochet, by the side of that single crochet you make another single crochet. So now you have 3 single crochet stacked on each other, giving us the height for a double crochet. Now you chain 1, yarn over, and then in the third chain from this chain 5 that we have here, you're going to place 3 in 1 double crochet there. So this is 1, 2, and then this is the third chain. Okay, yarn over and then place 3 in 1 double crochet into that third chain. So this 2, and then into the same chain you're placing 3 in 1 double crochet. So after that now you chain 1, yarn over, into the next 5 chains there you count 1, 2, 3, into the third chain there you're going to place 3 in 1 double crochet there. So this 2, and then the third one into the same chain space. Okay, so this is what you should have. So after the 3 in 1, you chain 1, yarn over, into the next 5 chains that you have here, and use 1, 2 into the third chain. That is where you place your 3 in 1 double crochet. So this is just the pattern to repeat all the way across to the end of the row. Okay, so this is it. You chain 1, and then into the third chain stitch here you place 3 in 1, chain 1, into the third stitch you place 3 in 1, and repeat that all the way until you get to the end of the row. So once you make your last 3 in 1 in the third chain space here, I'll show you how to do the very last stitch. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across. So at the end of row 3, okay, this is what you should have all the way. Then towards this end, like I said, when you get to the last 3 in 1 double crochet there, so you chain 1, yarn over, into the very last stitch, which is the top of the previous half double crochet, you're going to place a double crochet right on top of that stitch there. Okay, so this is what you should have at the end of the row. Okay, so that is it. So now for row 4 and the subsequent rows, we are only going to be repeating row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3 until we have it the length that we want. All right, so you just want to chain 1, yeah, turn your work, okay, and into the first of the first double crochet there, the top of that stitch, you make your stacked 2 single crochets to make our first half double crochet. Like I said, it's a repetition of row 2. Okay, so you chain 5. After you chain 5, you yarn over into the chain stitch in between the 2 3 in 1. Okay, not the first one here, this second chain stitch here, that is where you're going to place your next half double crochet. Okay, after that now you chain 5 again, and then you place your next half double crochet into the chain 1 space, and then chain 5, and then continue the process all the way. Like I said, it's a repetition of row 2, so you repeat that all the way to this end. You turn your work, and then you're going to repeat row 3. So you just go ahead and keep repeating row 2 and row 3 all the way, row after row, until we have the length of our work about 25 inches. Okay, so you just want to lay your work flat like so, and then you take your measurement. Okay, so right now this is almost 2 inches. All right, so you want to keep doing this row after row until when you measure it in length, you should measure around up to 25 inches. So that is the measurements we are looking for. So go ahead and keep doing this until you have about 25 inches. All right, so at this point now I've made my work, okay, the length of the back panel all the way up to 25 inches, like I said. So you want to lay your work out flat, and then you want to measure. Okay, and when you're laying your work flat, you try to stretch it out a bit, like by the sides. Okay, like pulling it by the sides, and stretch it out a little bit so that it is not folded on any end. So once you lay it out flat, and then you want to lay your tape right across it. Okay, make sure that your tape is on a straight line. Okay, so as you can see, this is what mine is like, and here, okay, you can see it is about 25 inches. All right, so you want to make your work until you have it about 25 inches like so, and then we are going to work on the border for the work. So just go ahead and, like I said, just make your rows all the way, and then you want to end on the row where you have 3 in 1 double crochets into each of the stitches. Okay, like this is the row where I ended, so you also want to end on this row as well. All right, so let's now make the border. So after you have your work about 25 inches in length, like I explained, so this is my last row, and like I said, you should end on the row with the 3 in 1 double crochet. Okay, so this is the row where I ended. So now we are going to start making the borders by the sides of the panels. All right, so we'll work our way all the way down to the sides of the panel, and then we'll also work on the base as well. So now an important thing to note is the front part and the back part of your work. Okay, so when you look closely, this is the front part of my panel, and then this part now is the back part of the panel. So you want to go ahead and take notes and know which part of your work is the front and then which part is the back. Okay, once you've figured this out, you can just choose any side you prefer. Okay, so for me, this is the side I'm choosing. So since I'm choosing that this side is going to be my front part, okay, when you look closely, you can see the lines of each of these they are really visible compared to the back part. Okay, the lines are not so visible. So this is the front part I'm going to choose. So once you have chosen your front part, you're now going to work on the borders. So since this is my front part, I'll be working like this all the way down. If this is the part you want to choose as your front part, that means you have to start from this side and work back. That means you turn your work and then start working all the way around. But since this is the part, so I'll keep working in this direction. So now from that very last stitch there, okay, so to put your stitches on this side, one thing you should notice that we are placing single crochets, and the single crochets we are placing on this double crochet stitch that we have here. Now we'll place 3 single crochet, and on this half double crochet that we have here, we'll place 2 single crochet. On the double crochet 3, on the half double crochet 2. So that is just the pattern to repeat all the way across. So into this double crochet stitch here now, I'll be placing, this is the first single crochet. In between that double crochet stitch, I'll place another single crochet, okay, and then still on that double crochet stitch, I'm placing another single crochet. So now I have 3 single crochets on that double crochet stitch. Now on this half double crochet stitch, I'll be placing 2 double crochet stitches there. So this is one, and then this is the second one. Okay, so make sure you're picking in between the stitches, and it should not be giving too much gap, right? So after that, now the next is a double crochet. So you place 3 single crochet. So 1, and then 2, and then the third one. Okay, so the next is a half double crochet. You place 2. So 1, and then 2. Okay, the next is a double crochet. You place 3. So 1, 2, and then 3, and that is just the pattern to repeat. So you place 3, 2, 3, 2 on all of the side stitches, okay, all the way until you get to the end of the row. And when you get to the end of this row, okay, you're going to start picking on the base of the stitches. All right, so you can see this is where our chain started from. So you pick this very first stitch here, you pick the next stitch, you pick the next stitch, you pick the next stitch, even the chain stitches. Okay, like here that we have 3 chain stitches in between, you place 3 single crochets on each of those chains. By the base of this 3 in 1, you place 1 single crochet, and repeat that pattern all the way until you get to the end of this row. When you get to the end of this row, you turn, okay, like you continue your way around, and then work on this side of the panel as well. And for this side of the panel, you're going to make, for the double crochet, you place 3 single crochet. For the half double crochet, you place 2 single crochet, just like we did on the other side, and then work your way all the way back up to this top of the panel. And then on this place, this is fairly much the easiest place to work on. You just place 1 single crochet on all of the stitches and on all of the single chain stitches in between. Okay, just place single crochet all the way until you're right back at this place where we started working our panel border. So just go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when we are done with all this. All right, so at this point now, I've worked all the way. Okay, this was where I started from, and then I worked all the way back down to this point of the work. Okay, and then I worked all the way like so, and then I started working my way back up again on this side, made single crochets like I explained previously. Okay, and then I walked all the way back to where I started again. So right now we are just going to fasten off. So right now we are just going to fasten off at this end. So make sure that you make single crochets across all the 4 corners of your work, and once you've done that, you just want to fasten off. So after placing the very last single crochet there, you want to slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet from the other side. Okay, so this is the top of that single crochet. I'm just going to slip stitch, chain 1, and then we are going to pull up a loop and then cut in between. Okay, so that is all for the back panel. So at this point now, we are going to start making our front panel. Okay, so that will be all for this. So you keep this aside and move on to the next. All right, so to make the front panel, remember the amounts we used for our back panel, which was half of our bust measurements that we added 4 to. Okay, mine was 19.5, and then we worked all the way up until we had about 25. So now for the front panel, you want to take this 19.5 and divide it into 2. So one thing I want to let you know is, if you have 19.5, or like if you have a whole number with a fraction or a decimal, okay, you do away with the fraction or the decimal. So for me, that I have 19.5 here, I'm just going to use only 19 for this math for the front panel. Okay, so if you have something like 30.5, you just use only the 30. If you have like 15.5, you use only the 15. And if you have just a whole number, let's say you have 17 or 18, like any whole number, you just use that whole number. Okay, because we want our division to tally. So now I'm going to divide this 19 now, okay, by 2. So 19 divided by 2, I'll have 9.5. So this is the measurement I'm going to be doing for my front panel. So for the front panel, we'll be making something like this. This is the shape of what our front panel should look like, something like this. Okay, so then another one like so. So this is the kind of what our front panel shape should look like. Okay, so this is where we should do the 9.5, the 9.5, and this one is also 9.5. So we'll be making 2 front panels. That's just what it means. Okay, so we'll start with a chain of about 9.5, just like we did for the back panel. Start with a chain of about 9.5. Use the same stitch pattern, work your way all the way up to this point, and when we get to this point now, we'll start decreasing so that we'll get this shape for the neck. Okay, so let's get started so that you understand what this means. But just know that we are starting with the half of that initial measurement that we used for the back panel. Okay, so mine was 19.5, so I decided to use 19, which is the whole number. You can decide also to round it up to 20 and divide it and then use 10. Okay, but I decided to use 19 over 2 divided by 2. You have 9.5. Okay, so this panel will be 9.5, this panel will be 9.5, and then we'll also make the same length of 25 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and start making the front panel. So for the front panel, like I said, it's going to be a repetition of what we did for the back panel. The only difference is that we are making half of it. Okay, so remember, for the back panel we did our chains in multiple of 4. So you make your slip knot, and then we are going to be chaining in multiple of 4. And for the measurement I need about 9.5. So I'll be making my chains in multiple of 4 until I have about 9.5. So depending on whatever your measurement is, that is what you're going to use. So remember, you chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you chain another 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you chain another 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just keep making 4 chains until when you measure it, you should have about 9.5. So go ahead and keep doing this, and I'll meet you after. So like I said, I've made my chains in multiple of 4, and I have about 9.5 inches. So remember how to take the measurements. You place your tape flat, and then you use your chain, okay, and then measure against the tape, and try not to stretch the chain. Okay, if there's any place that is twisted, you untwist it and then take your measurement correctly. Okay, so you can see mine is about 9.5, just a little bit to be up to 9. Okay, if I should add more 4 chains, it would be more than 9.5. So I'm just going to leave it at this. So you go ahead and get your own exact measurement, and then remember how we did the exact thing we did for the back panel. The only thing is that we are just making a smaller version of it. Okay, so after you have your chain the length that you need, you're just going to add an extra 2. Okay, and then start working from the second chain from your hook. So starting from the second chain now, you're going to place a 3 single crochet stacked on each other. So this is 1, and then this is 2, and then this is 3. Okay, so these 3 single crochet stacked on each other, you chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and then into the next stitch you place 3 in 1 double crochet there. 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so after this now you want to chain 3. No, you chain 1, yarn over, and then skip 3, and then place your 3 in 1 into the 4th stitch, which is the 4th chain there. So like I said, it's just a repetition of what we did for the back panel. Okay, so 1, 2, and then 3. You chain 1, skip 3 chains, and place 3 in 1 double crochet on the 4th chain. So you repeat that all the way until you get to the end of the row. So at the end of this row, okay, I'm towards to the end of that row. Like I said, 3 in 1, chain 1, skip 3, work on the 4th chain and place your 3 in 1, and then all the way to the end. And when you have only 2 stitches left there, you want to chain 1 and then skip 1 stitch and place your last double crochet on the very last chain stitch there. Okay, so that is what you should have. After this now, you want to chain 1, turn your work, and then you make 2 single crochets stacked on each other on the very first stitch there to make the height of a half double crochet. Okay, so after your half double crochet, you make 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 chain. Okay, yarn over into the chain space in between the 2 3 in 1 stitches, not this very first one yet, the second chain space there. You're going to place a half double crochet there. Okay, you chain 5 again, and then place a half double crochet into the next chain 1 space. Okay, just like we did when we were working for the back panel, you just repeat this all the way. Chain 5 into the chain space, you make your half double crochet, chain 5 into the chain space, you make your half double crochet, and repeat that all the way until you are at the end of the row. So at this point now, I'm towards the end of that second row, and like we did previously, you're just going to make your last half double crochet into the top of the double crochet from the previous row. Okay, which is that very last stitch there. We are not placing anyone in between these 2 stitches. Okay, so after that now, you chain 1, you turn your work. For the next stitch now, place a double crochet on top of this stitch. So you make the starting double crochet stitch, which is 3 single crochets stacked on each other. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then 3 single crochet. So once you have your first double crochet stitch there, you chain 1, yarn over, and then into the 3rd chain space here, you're going to place 3 in 1 double crochet stitches. So 1, 2, and then the 3rd one. Alright, so after that, you chain 1, move on to the next chain 5 and then into the third chain there. Okay, count 1 2 3 into the third chain. That is where you place 3 in 1 double crochet. Okay, so this is just the pattern to repeat all the way until the end of the row. So you chain 1 after the 3 in 1 and then into the third chain for this chain 5 space you make 3 in 1 again, you chain 1 and keep repeating that all the way until you get to the end of this row. Okay, so after the last 3 in 1 into that third chain space, okay, you want to chain 1 and then into this half double crochet we have from the previous row, onto the top of that double crochet you place a onto the top of that half double crochet, okay, you place a double crochet on top of it. So that completes this round. All right, so you can see it's just a stitch repetition of what we did for the back panel. So right now, after this, now you just chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to repeat row 2 again. So into the first stitch you make a half double crochet, and since it's the first stitch you make 2 single crochets stacked on each other, chain 5. So after you chain 5, into the chain 1 space in between the 3 in 1 single double crochets, you're going to place a half double crochet there. Okay, you chain 5 again, and then into the chain 1 space you place a half double crochet, and you just repeat that pattern all the way until you get to the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row, you turn your work and repeat row 3 again. So you just keep repeating row 2 and row 3, row 2 and row 3 all the way until you have your work about 22 inches. Okay, so why I said 22 inches is because, like I said, we are doing 2 different panels, and for this panel we started with 9.5 for me. So depending on yours, your bust measurement or the chest measurement, this number is going to differ. So after you've achieved this and you start working your way back and forth, okay, you keep doing this until you have about 22 inches. Okay, so 22 inches, and then we are going to start making the decrease for the remaining 3 inches to complete it, a total of 25 inches. So just go ahead and keep doing this back and forth until you have a total of 22 inches. All right, so go ahead, keep repeating these 2 rows all the way until you have a total of 22. All right, so at this point now, as you can see, the total length of my work, I just laid it out flat just like we did for the back panel, and then you can see it's around 22 inches. Okay, so once you have this now, and one thing I would advise you is to end on this row with the 5 chain stitches and half double crochet. So when you end up, make sure you try to end on this row. Okay, it might be a little bit more than 22 or a little bit smaller than 22, that's totally fine. So you should have something like this, okay, about 22 inches in length, and then we are going to start making the decrease for the neck hole. So once you have achieved that 22 inch length, okay, you're just going to fasten off. Okay, so you just chain 1, pull up a loop, and then fasten off. Okay, so now we are going to reattach our yarn to start making our decreases. All right, so once you have fastened off the parts, okay, like I said, you want to make sure that you fasten off, and then you want to turn your work to the right side of your work. So this is my right side. Okay, so depending on the side you choose to be the right side of your work, like I said, I'm choosing the side with these lines more visible. All right, so you choose that part, you turn your work, and then we are going to attach our yarn to this part. So now this is this side of our panel. Okay, so we are going to attach our yarn right onto this point and then start making for our work. All right, so just a visual explanation of what this is. So this is where we started. We worked all the way up to this point now. Okay, work the way up to this point, and this is where we are going to make our decrease. So this is the front side facing me, just like this is facing me, and then we are going to attach our yarn to this point of the work and then make our decreases. All right, so let's do that. So like I said, we are going to be attaching our yarn. We are skipping the whole of this 5 chain, okay, and we are attaching our yarn into this half double crochet from this second part. Okay, so this is where into that half double crochet stitch there you're going to attach your new yarn. Okay, so once you have attached your yarn however you choose to, the next thing we are going to do now, since the next row is this row, we are going to make our first double crochet right onto that same stitch where we attached our yarn. So make your 3 single crochets stacked on each other to give us the height of the double crochet. Okay, so once you have this now, you want to chain 1. Okay, it's going to be like what we usually do at the beginning of every row. Okay, the only difference is that we have decreased by skipping this chain 5 stitches here. So you chain 1 yarn over into the third chain. Okay, you're going to place your 3 in 1 double crochet there. So it's just still the same stitch pattern. The only difference is that we skipped this 5 chain. So you chain 1 again into the next chain 5 space. You're going to make your 3 in 1 double crochet stitch there. Okay, you chain 1 and then continue the pattern all the way until you get to the end of the row. So you're going to pick the very last stitch here because you're not we are not making any decrease on this side. So you pick this when you work your way all the way to this point, you chain, you turn your work and repeat the next stitch pattern, which is this chain 5 half double crochet onto the next row until we are towards the end, and I will meet you right there. So go ahead and complete this row and the next row until you're towards this side again, and I'll show you how to decrease for this point again. So like I explained before, this was where we started our decrease. Okay, we skipped all of this and attached our yarn here, and then we worked this first row. So like I said, when you get to the end of the row, okay, you're not going to skip any stitch there. You onto the very last stitch, then you turn your work and repeat the next row, which is this chain 5 half double crochet, chain 5 half double crochet row. So once you're done with that row to this end, okay, so that is where I'm at right now. So I'm just showing you how to make decrease again, because we are always going to decrease at this point of our work. So you chain 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and then make your half double crochet into the chain spaces in between the 2 3 in 1 stitch from the previous row. Okay, so this part now where we have the 3 double crochet from the previous stitch and the chain 1 space before the very last double crochet, we are not going to walk into the stitch, okay, like we normally do at the end of every row. So we are going to leave this whole stitch out, just like we left the whole of this out. We are leaving the whole of this. So this is going to be our decrease for this row. Okay, so all you just have to do when you get to this point is just to chain 1, turn your work into that very first stitch there, which is a half double crochet. You're going to place a double crochet stitch there, okay, just like we did for the part where we have the 3 in 1 double crochet row. Okay, so you place 3 single crochet stacked on each other to make a double crochet. You chain 1, yarn over into the third chain space. You're placing your 3 in 1 double crochet stitch there. So it's just a repetition of what we've been doing for other rows. The only difference is that we didn't complete the whole of this row, so we just skipped, and then we skipped the whole of this stitch, turned our work at this point and started making this row. Okay, so that is just how to make the decrease. So when you get to the end of the row again, you're not going to decrease at this point. You just turn your work, repeat this same chain 5 half double crochet stitch all the way towards the end, and when you get to this point again, like we did on the other side, you're going to leave out this other end of your work. So I'm just going to repeat this whole process and come back and show you that one more time. So like I explained, I said you make this row. This was where we were before in the previous slide. Okay, you work on this row all the way to this point. Then I turned my work and started working on this row of the 5 chains and half double crochet. Okay, so just like we made decrease for this down part of the work, when you get to this point again, you're only going to work onto this stitch in between, okay, before the last chain 1 space at this end. So this is where you're going to stop, leaving the whole of this out. You're not going to work on this. Then you chain 1, turn your work, and then repeat this row again all the way at the top. Okay, so starting from the very first stitch there, you place your 3 in 1 single crochet, you work your way all the way back to this point. When you get to this point, you turn your work, repeat this row of the chain 5 half double crochet all the way at the top. Okay, and then so that is just how to make your decreases, and you're going to do this for a total of 3 rows. Remember, we already made 22 rows. Okay, so like I said earlier, that we need a total of 25. Okay, and we did 22 rows, so the remaining 3 rows is for our decrease. Okay, so that is what we are doing right now. So you want to place your tape at the top of your row, okay, and measure it down all the way to this is where we started our decrease. So you trace that to your tape. So this is about, my tape is not flat. Okay, so this is about 2.5. Okay, so this is where the decrease started, and tracing it to my tape is almost about 2.5. So about 1 or 2 more rows will be enough for me to make it a total of 3. Okay, and the row you're going to end on is this row with the 3 in 1 double crochet. Okay, so just go ahead and keep making your decreases. Okay, make sure that your decrease is on one side, you're not decreasing on the other side, only on one side, and then just keep doing your decreases until you have a total of 3 inches, or when you measure the total length of your work, you should have a total of 25 inches. So that is that. Okay, so at this point now I've made my decreases, and this is where our decrease row started. Okay, so from here to here I have about 3 inches in length. Remember, I said that you should make your decreases for a total of 3 inches to complete the previous 22 inches that we have, to complete it a total of 20. So you can see this is exactly 3 inches. Okay, so this is where the decrease row started. Okay, so you go ahead and make sure that yours is exactly 3 inches to complete the remaining 22 that we have before, to make it a total of 25. And another thing you should take note of is that the total number of rows you have, like starting from the bottom all the way, you count your number of rows that you have, okay, all the way to this very last row here. Like I said, you're going to end with this row of 3 in 1 double crochet in a stitch. This is the row you should end with. Okay, just like the row we started with. Okay, so you can go ahead and count. An easier way to count is just to count only the 3 in 1 inch rows. So you count 1 2 3 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that, all the way to the top. And the number of rows you have, you should make sure that it is the same number of rows like the back panel. So the back panel, you go ahead and do the same number count all the way from the down to the top, and make sure that it is the same number of rows. Okay, if it is not the same number of rows, you go ahead and adjust it and make sure that they are the same exact number of rows. So that is what you should also note at this point. So once you're done with that, now you're now going to start making your border all the way around. So to make our single crochet border, just like we did for the back panel, is very easy. All you have to do, just like for the other panel, on the double crochet you place 3 single crochet, on the half double crochet you place 2 single crochet, 3 2 3 2, like we did before. So I'm just going to show you that. Okay, so for this one, and this is the first single crochet, this is the second one, and then this is the third single crochet for that double crochet stitch. Then for the half double crochet, you're just placing 2 single crochets on top of that stitch there. So this is 2, and then into the double crochet row you place 3. Okay, so I already explained this when we were working for the back panel. Okay, so you just go ahead and place your single crochet border all the way around. Okay, all the way around this panel as well, all the way down to this point. You pick on all of the stitches on the base, even the chain stitches there, you pick that and work your way all the way back up to this side of the work. And when we get to this part where we have our decreases, I'm going to meet you at this point so that I'll show you how to work on this part as well. Something else I forgot to say earlier was that you should also make sure that you're making your single crochet on the right side of your work. Make sure the right side of your work is facing you and you're making your single crochet all the way along. Okay, so if this is the wrong side of your work, you want to turn like this and make your single crochet all the way like so. So that is just how to do it. So just the same way we did for the back panel, make sure that the right side is facing you and then you place your single crochet on the border. So I've worked the border all the way. I'm right at that area where we made our decreases. Okay, so let me show you how to work into each of the stitches. So starting from the very first stitch here, so after this double crochet stitch here where I've already placed 3 single crochet, the next stitch here now is the half double crochet. So like we've been doing before, on the half double crochet you're going to be placing 2 single crochets on that half double crochet stitch. So 1, into the same half double crochet stitch you place another stitch there, making it 2. Okay, so after you place your 2 single crochets on the half double crochet, this part now where we have this chain, we are kind of going to work on these stitches beneath, so that we walk over the chain and then it comes together like this to eliminate this hole here. Okay, this gap. So all you have to do now, into the very first stitch here now, on this second row beneath, which is the chain stitch, you insert your hook there, yarn over the chain and then make a single crochet. Okay, so you can see we walked over the chain. So into these 3 double crochets, you'll be placing single crochets on top of each of them as well. So remember, you're working over this chain here. Okay, so into the very first double crochet stitch there, you're going to be placing a single crochet there. Into the second double crochet you place a single crochet. Into the third double crochet you place a single crochet. So now we have a total of 4 single crochets on top of this part of the work. So now the next part now to work into is this the half double crochet on this side, and you can see this chain is still remaining, so you're working on the half double crochet, not the chain. So placing 2 single crochets on that half double crochet, just like we've been doing on a half double crochet, you'll be placing only 2 single crochets there. If you notice, I'm carrying my this yarn along with me because I want to hide it. Okay, so now after that you have your double crochet. Okay, so now on the double crochet you place 3 single crochets. So the first single crochet, the second single crochet, and then the third one. Okay, so on this part now where we have this flat edge, you're just going to place 1 single crochet into the chain stitch, and then into the top of these 3 double crochet you'll be placing single crochets on top of it. When you get to this part now where you have half double crochet, you place 2 single crochets there. On this part you place 3 single crochets, and on this top again you place 4 double crochets, and then you just repeat that pattern all the way to the top of your work. Okay, so when you're done placing those single crochets on this reduction edge, this is what you should have. Okay, so we are just going to keep placing single crochet all the way right up to this point where we actually started making the single crochet border. So you just keep placing 1 single crochet on top of all of the stitches, just like we did for the back panel. Okay, the single crochet should be both on the double crochet stitches and into the chain spaces as well. So just go ahead and do that until you get to the end of the row. So when you get to the end of that row, okay, right back at where we started making our single crochet border, okay, you're going to slip stitch to the top of the very first single crochet that we made. Okay, so slip stitch, chain 1. So you pull up a loop and then you cut in between that loop. Okay, and take out the excess yarn. So this is it for the first part of the front panel. So you're just going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process again for the second panel, okay, but just with slight differences, and I'm going to explain that. So you just go ahead and start the second panel. Okay, so this is our second panel. So you start with the 9.5 chain. So you want to note the amount of chain you used for the beginning of this your work. Okay, so you're going to count and know the amount of chain you used, and then you're going to chain the same exact number and then use it to work all the way until you have about 22 inches in length, and then I'll show you how to do the decrease for this other side. Okay, so a clearer understanding of what I mean for the second panel of your work. Okay, so this is the first panel that we did. Okay, I've not worked the single crochet border at this point. I'm just showing you what to do for the second panel because I've already worked the second panel and I noticed that there is a slight difference. So I'm trying to give you a much clearer understanding of what you're going to do when you get to the second panel. Okay, so remember I said for this panel you make sure that the right side of your work is facing you, which is this front panel that we did here. Okay, I said the right side of your work should be facing you, and then you're going to reattach your yarn at some point of your work and then work your way all the way up, which is exactly what we did here. Okay, and kept making our decreases. Okay, and if you notice for this work, all we was needed to do was when you get to this point, we attached here, you get to the end of the row, you turn your work, make your chain 5 half double crochet row, and then you stop at this point to make your decrease. Okay, for this other panel it is going to be a reverse of the case because we are repeating the same exact thing. The only difference, so as to get your panels right, you're going to be working from the wrong side of your work, if that makes sense. Okay, so you want to flip your work to the wrong side like so. So once you flip your work to the wrong side, you're now going to attach your yarn. Okay, just like we did for this part, you attach your yarn to this side and then make the decreases accordingly, just exact thing that we did. The only difference is that for this panel you're working from the wrong side, so that when you're done with that work you're just going to flip it over and then the decrease is going to align. So the decrease is going to be on this side in as much as it is on this side as well, so they are going to be aligned, and the two fronts of your work is going to be the same right side facing up. Okay, I hope you understand this better. This side, the exact same thing we did on this side, that is what you're going to do for the second panel. The only difference is that you're turning your work like so, reattaching your yarn at this point and working all the way to the top. Okay, just like we did for the first panel. The only difference is that this is the wrong side and this is the right side. And when you're done for the part where we would want to be attaching, or before you make your single crochet border, you want to flip it to the right side like so, and then you make your single crochet border all the way around, so that when we are joining the work now it will be the two right side that is facing us. So that is how to make the second panel. Then once you're done with the work, another slight difference you might notice is that the parts where we did the decreases for this second panel, because we flipped it to the wrong side, that part is going to look like the wrong side of your work, which is totally fine. Okay, it's not going to make any much difference. Okay, it's just so that you'll be able to make the decreases right and follow it exactly the way I explained for this. So you're just going to notice that small difference just on that part. It doesn't really matter, it does not affect your work in any way, so I just want to make that clear. So like I said earlier, you want to make sure that the number of rows you have on both panels are exactly the same thing with the number of rows you have on your back panel. Okay, so after you've done these two panels, now we're going to join the front panels to the back panel. So for the continuation of this tutorial, click the link in the description to access the part 2 of this tutorial. You can also check out my other videos. Thank you for watching and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.